Stocks on Wall Street end higher. The S&P 500 scores another record close as Nvidia's results validate the AI boom. Nasdaq adds 115 points. Markets in Asia trade mixed as investors assess a slew of economic data from the region. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a higher start for the Indian market. Crude oil prices edge up as prospects of a Russia-Ukraine peace deal fade. Traders also await comments from US President Trump that could signal stricter sanctions on Russia. Gold prices too hit a 5-week high on the back of a weaker dollar. The government is considering GST relief for the textile and medical sector. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that the centre is also proposing to cut GST on all drugs and medicines from 12% to 5%. The GST Council is set to meet next week on the 3rd and 4th of September. Reliance's 48th annual general meeting to take place today. Shareholders will watch out for any potential value unlocking announcements beyond business updates. Good morning in the Mumbai News Centre. I am Vamakshi Doria and you're watching Power Breakfast. Well, it's the last trading session for this week. It's not been such a great week so far, but the handover that came in from Wall Street yesterday was very positive. The gains out there were very minor, but nevertheless, we saw good recovery that came in from the day's lowest point, especially for the Dow Jones, which managed to recover almost 200 points. So the handover that came in from Wall Street was very good. Resultantly, most of Asia is in the green, although it looks like a mixed picture for now. Take a look at the Taiwanese index. It's up almost 0.8%. The Hang Seng too is trading with a gain of around 0.5%. So some minor gains in playing out in Asia. Apart from that, take a look at what the Nikkei is doing. The Nikkei for now is down almost 0.4%. The Korean index, which is the Kospi, is also trading only with a minor cut of around 0.1%. The Indian markets, the GIFT Nifty will come up for you on the screen, and that will indicate, what the kind of session that we're expected to have today. For now, it's a flat start. Only a 16-point uptick is what the GIFT Nifty is indicating for our own Indian market, but all eyes will be on the Reliance AGM that is scheduled later today. But that's all the global market action. But how will all of these overnight cues impact our own Indian market? We now have our research team joining in with how the trade setup looks like and the F&O space. First up, Hormaz joins us to get us all the market cues we need to watch out for today. Hormaz, good morning.
Good morning, Vamakshi, and it's looking like a cautious start to the September series and has been the case all through this week as well, right? And if you see the benchmark indices as well over the last 4 days, is nothing to write home about. The Nifty is down almost 600 points. The Nifty Bank continues to be the pain point, down almost 2,000 points in the last 4 sessions. Similar story playing out for the broader markets as well. The small cap index too facing a loss of around 700 points in the last 4 sessions. Now, it's the Nifty ended the series lower as well. All sectoral indices closed lower on Thursday. And if you take a look at the contributors as well, it was IT that was giving some support to the index through this week, but it was IT that was the pain point yesterday. The banks were the pain points yesterday as well. And even for the week now, as a result of this truncated week, the Nifty is down almost 1.5%. The Nifty Bank is down 2.5%. The small cap index is down 3.5%. So it shows the kind of selling pressure that you have seen in the broader markets as well. Now, what has happened for the Nifty is that it closed at the lowest point of the day yesterday, somehow managed to defend 24,500, but that 78.6% retracement that you get from the lows of August of 8th to the highs of the 21st of August comes up to 24,512, and we are almost at those levels. So that becomes the first one to watch out for. On the downside, yesterday's low 24,482 becomes the first one for the Nifty to defend on the downside. And for the Nifty Bank, now it closed below the 54,000 mark yesterday, so getting above that and sustaining above that becomes the first challenge for the index. And the low of the 9th of May, which is 53,483, that opens up on the downside now. That becomes another important level to watch out for the banking index. Today, of course, is the start of the September series. We now enter a new expiry cycle. NSE moving to Tuesday, BSE moving to Thursday, so that will be in focus as well. GDP data reporting later this evening, but all eyes, of course, as you mentioned, will be on the Reliance Industries AGM, and it was that intraday recovery seen in Reliance Industries that ensured that the Nifty somehow managed to defend that 24,500 mark in yesterday's trading session as well. So for now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a cautious start to the September series. It will be interesting to see whether 24,500 holds today, but all eyes starting 2 p.m. on the Reliance AGM.
Well, absolutely, Hormaz. Of course, all eyes will be on the Reliance AGM. The GIFT Nifty for now is indicating a 14-point uptick. So a start minor in the green is what the GIFT Nifty is indicating so far. But, let's focus in on the F&O space then. Mangalam is here with cues from that. Good morning, Mangalam.
Good morning. So we kickstart a new series, after what was a very volatile August series, we start a September series. If you look at the last few series, we saw 4 series of gains, and thereafter in July and August, the Nifty has given up almost 1,050 points. So that's something we'll have to watch out for. And we're entering the September series. The September series is usually known for big moves on either side. September 2021, we had a near 1,000-point move. Last September itself, we had a 1,000-point up move. But amidst all of this, there was one September where we saw a decline of nearly 4% on the frontline index as well. So big moves on either side is what the September series is known for. And in that big moves, we have the FII positioning, which is at 8% on the long side, which is the lowest that we've seen at the start of this series. If you look at the rollovers, they've been higher than average. The open interest at the start of the series has been higher than the last few series average as well, at 1.6 crore shares versus an average of 1.44 crore shares. And the FII long exposure, that comes up for you on the screen at 8%. It's the lowest ever since the data has been revealed by the NSE. And this usually is not a big negative because every time the FII exposure has been low, as the table comes up for you, you would see over the next few series, you've seen a big up move on the Nifty. And the counter positioning to the FIIs are the clients, which are the HNIs. They are 72% long on the index futures. So April 2023, FII started the series with 9% long exposure. Next few series, we saw a 2,500-point move. November, we had an 11% exposure. The next few series, the Nifty saw a 2,900-point move. And then we had February 2025 as well. The FII started the series with 11% long exposure. The next 5 series saw a 2,300-point move on the Nifty. So what could be the triggers that could take the market higher? Starting today, we have the Reliance AGM. Any word on value unlocking will share weight on the stock, and the underperformance that the stock has seen perhaps could lead the market higher. We have the GST rate rationalization that come in. Any positive move on India-US trade talks could be a big upside trigger for the market. And then you have the US FOMC meet as well, where there is a rate cut which is expected. Impact of heavy rains in the north on demand and pre-festive buying is something that we'll be tracking, which may impact the EPS going forward too.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mangalam. Absolutely, we'll be watching on for the all-important September series then. But, let's, focus back on Reliance because the 48th annual general meeting is set to take place later today. My colleague Reema joins us with a brief overview of what to expect from this time's meeting and what the street will watch out for. Over to you, Reema.
So the AGM is always important because it sets the tone for the company's growth for the next year. And very often we've had big bang announcements. So what is it that the street expects? One, timeline on the Jio and the retail IPO. This was first mentioned by Mukesh Ambani in 2019. He said an IPO will happen in 5 years, but that was pushed back as the company is more focused on strengthening the business. Secondly, in the last AGM, Mr. Mukesh Ambani laid out an ambitious roadmap, doubling Reliance Industry, by FY30. It also included doubling retail and Jio in the next 3 to 4 years. So how does the company get there? Then thirdly, on the new energy, because new energy is seen as the next big growth driver. So clarity on timelines, how much can it contribute to overall Reliance's financials, the earnings potential? Fourthly, expansion plans. The company is always big on expansion. So whether it's in retail in terms of fast fashion, quick commerce, in terms of the digital side of the business, whether it's on the space side, more than 40% of the subscribers are already on 5G. They have an ambitious plan of hitting 100 million broadband subscribers. And even on the pure O2C, the traditional business, the company has lined up massive capacity expansion. And finally, in terms of the stock price, it's up 14% in 2025, but it's still 11% below its 52-week high of 1551.
Well, thank you so much for that, Reema. And you can catch the comprehensive coverage of Reliance Industries AGM starting this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. But on that note, let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you exclusive details on some likely GST rate reforms that are expected in next week's meeting. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, the latest on the GST front. Sources say the group of ministers on rate rationalization are likely to table Centre's proposal do away with 12% and 28% slabs. My colleague Timsy brings us all the details. Timsy?
Well, that's right. What sources are indicating to us that the upcoming GST Council meet, which is scheduled to meet on 3rd and 4th of September, the Centre's proposal on rate rationalization is up on the agenda, and the group of ministers on rate rationalization has put forward the Centre's proposal, which includes reducing GST on hotel accommodation of less than or equal to 7,500 rupees per night from current 12% with ITC to 5% without ITC. Beauty and physical well-being services proposed to be reduced from 18% with ITC to 5% with ITC. Admission to cinematography films where prices are less than 100 rupees are likely to be proposed to be reduced from 12% with ITC to 5% with ITC. The proposal is also to hike rates on services from 28% with ITC to 40% with ITC on admissions to casinos, race clubs, sporting events like IPL, race club services, betting, casinos, gambling, horse racing, lottery. On the other hand, when it comes to the business class air travel, over there we are likely to see a hike from current 12% with ITC to 18% with ITC. The Centre's proposal is also to reduce certain items from 28% to 18%, which includes cement, which is a key item there. Also, there's a proposal on transportation sector, which includes cars, automobiles. Over there, something that we need to know. Petrol, LPG and CNG driven motor vehicles of engine capacity not more than 1200 cc and less than 4000 millimeter length proposed to be reduced from 28% to 18%. Diesel driven motor vehicles up to 1500 cc and up to 4000 millimeter length proposed to be reduced from 28% to 18%. Three-wheeled vehicles proposed to be reduced from 28% to 18%. Motorcycle of engine capacity not exceeding 350 cc proposed to be reduced from 28% to 18%. The parts, automobile parts, accessories for motor vehicles proposed to be reduced from 28% to 18%. Where there's a hike on this particular sector, station wagons, racing cars, motor vehicles of more than 1200 cc and 4000 millimeter of length to see a hike from 28 to 40. Aircrafts, helicopters, aeroplanes for personal use, yacht, other vessels, motorcycles with more than 350 cc, again a hike from 28% to 40%. Let's see what all happens when the council meets.
Well, thank you so much for that, Timsy. We indeed will be watching out for the GST meeting, which is scheduled on 3rd and 4th of September. But let's take a look at what happened in the US market. The S&P 500 scored another record close on Thursday as traders pored over Nvidia's earnings results and forecast. The Nasdaq ended the day up by 0.5%, while the Dow Jones also closed at a record high. CNBC's Angelica Peoples gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across major indexes in Thursday trading, thanks in part to strong GDP gains in the second quarter. The Dow closed at a record high, gaining 72. The S&P 500, which also closed at a new high and hit 6,500 for the first time ever, gained 20. And the tech-heavy Nasdaq added 115. The U.S. economy grew faster than expected in the second quarter as consumers continued to spend despite tariff volatility. The Commerce Department on Thursday announced GDP rose at a 3.3% annualized pace. It's the second estimate produced for the most wide-ranging measure of economic activity. The initial estimate pinned GDP growth at 3%. And Nike announced Thursday that it's laying off about 1% of its corporate workforce in CEO Elliott Hill's latest move to realign how teams are structured across the company. Since taking over, Hill says that he's been trying to reverse ongoing declining sales, reignite innovation, and win back partners. Shares of Nike are down about 14% so far this year. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Angelica, thank you so much for that. University of Pennsylvania's Loretta Mester also talked about the importance of Fed's independence. Let's listen in.
Right now, the markets are focused on the short run and not the long run, which is precisely why you want to have an independent monetary policy making central bank. The central bank focuses on the longer run and setting interest rates, or the short-term interest rate, to help the economy meet price stability and maximum employment goals. It doesn't focus only on the short run. And that's because monetary policy affects the economy in the long run. So the fact that the markets haven't reacted strongly actually underscores the need to make sure that we maintain an independent Fed and in terms of their monetary policy making.
Morgan Stanley's Andrew Sliman, meanwhile, believes the future for stocks is looking bright as earnings estimates are on the rise. Let's listen in.
The future for stocks is looking pretty bright right now because earnings estimates in general are going up. And I think, and certainly the AI sentiment and the very large companies in the S&P that are very much focused on this, that's where the best earnings revisions are coming. So I think the stock market is acting very rational here in terms of rewarding the best fundamentals, and the best fundamentals seem to be in these very, very large companies.
And JP Morgan's Gabriela Santos adds that the magnitude of earnings beat this quarter has decelerated, which has led to a rotation within the AI theme. Let's listen in.
I think what's been interesting from this summer has really been the rotation within the market. So clearly these mega cap tech companies are doing very, very well. Incredible earnings. It's just the magnitude of the earnings beats have been decelerating. And so you're seeing a nice rotation within the AI theme to also include software infrastructure and, of course, to include physical infrastructure, including utilities, industrials. So it's already moved on to that new phase of the theme, which is really encouraging.
Well, on that note, let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodities market, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. We now have our colleague Manisha Gupta joining us with all the updates from the world of commodities. Good morning, Manisha. What are you watching out for?
Well, thank you for that. I'm looking for silver prices because while we're trading at a near 1 month highs in the international markets, but for the Indian silver prices, we are trading at an all-time highs. Well, MCX has made an all-time high above 117,000 rupees a kg, while for the spot markets, we've already seen 120,000 rupees a kg come into the markets. Well, there is strong China industrial demand. There is very strong Indian investment and industrial demand as well. And remember, we are looking at a fifth year of deficit in the global markets when it comes to silver. The strong retail buying and very strong investment demand is something that really seems to be supporting silver. So while the physical buying has been strong, we've seen the silver ETF demand also on the stronger side, and that clearly has been supportive. The other thing that has continued to gain up has been the crude oil prices, up nearly 1% overnight. Remember, the U.S. inventories have seen a decline. The tariffs on India at 50% with 25% of a penalty also seems to be keeping international markets jittery. And then it also is about Russia, Ukraine stepping up attacks on each other's energy sector, infrastructure, etc. And that seems to be supporting not just crude, but gasoline, heating oil, distillate prices. All of that is trading at a multi-week highs at this point.
Well, thank you so much for that, Manisha. But moving on, heavy rainfall and flash floods have wreaked havoc in several parts of North India, causing significant damage to infrastructure. The Jammu-Srinagar National Highway remains closed for the fourth day after heavy rainfall triggered landslides in the region. Over 600 vehicles remain stranded. The death toll in the Union Territory has already crossed 40, with the Vaishno Devi landslide accounting for most of the fatalities. Several places in Himachal have been battered by the rain as well. The NDRF is carrying out rescue operations in Kangra and Chamba districts. A portion of the Chandigarh-Manali highway was washed away. More than a dozen villages in Punjab continue to remain inundated due to the overflowing Peace River. Schools in Fazilka, Jalandhar and other districts remain shut. The Indian Army deployed its advanced amphibian mobility vehicle for its rescue operations in Amritsar. more than 8 people have been killed in rain-related incidents in Chandigarh. Well, moving on then, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 2-day visit to Japan to participate in the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit. This is the Prime Minister's 8th visit to Japan and first annual summit with his Japanese counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba. The External Affairs Ministry has said that the two Prime Ministers will review the special strategic and global partnership between India and Japan. In the second leg of his visit, PM Modi will also travel to China from August 31st to September 1st to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. He is expected to hold bilateral meetings with several leaders attending the summit. He will also meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on September 1st. Well, with that, that's all the action with that we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. Don't go anywhere. Pasar Morning Call comes up next.